my friend Steve. Say hi, Steve.
Hello.
And today we're going to learn an awesome new thing. Steve is going to show us how to tie some knots. Quick background on Steve. Steve is a member of the Coast Guard, and he also spends a lot of time on boats and ships and on the water, so he knows firsthand the importance of not only being able to tie a knot, but being able to tie it properly and knowing which knot you need for which job. So we're going to go over a few of those and the terminology and the differences between them, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So,
Thank you, Dave.
no problem.
All right. Yeah, a couple of knots we're going to go over today. Very common knots. One of them you use to tie your shoelaces, so it's something we do every day. The terminology you referred to, there are different names for the same knots based on the field you're in or the community you're in. If you're a Boy Scout, you call it a square knot. If you're on the water, you call it a reef knot. It's the same knot, but it's got two different names. Some of these knots also have multiple applications. If you're into climbing or steeplejacking or window washing, you'll use some of these knots. Again, a different name they might have, but it's the same way to tie it.
Cool.
Okay, so one of the first knots I wanted to go over was very simple. It's called a figure 8 stopper knot. And if you have a line running through a pulley or a block, a pulley is the same thing as a block in the nautical end. You don't want to lose the line through the pulley or through the block.
At the end of it.
At the end of it, correct, at the bitter end. And that's one of the terminologies. The bitter end refers to the very end of the line.
Oh.
The standing end refers to a line that's attached.
Okay.
So if you hold that and be the standing end, please. Very good. This is the bitter end. So if you're tying a knot to prevent the line running through the block or the pulley, a figure 8 stopper knot. You might be tempted to do an overhand knot, very simple like that. But that is not wide enough. That can actually go through the block and get stuck. If, however, you do the figure 8, makes it look like a figure 8, this increases the width of the line and won't jam into the block.
So the purpose of that is to make it so that it won't continue
Won't
through the
disappear all the way through. Correct. Yep. And it's nice to leave a little tail so when it does run through the block or stop at the block, you can grab that.
All right.
And pull it up. So that's the figure 8 stopper knot. Again, the purpose of a figure 8 knot is to prevent the line from disappearing into a block or a pulley. And what it does is it creates a knot at the end of the line that's wider than the diameter of the line itself, so it can't disappear. The overhand knot, which we're all very familiar with, because it's the knot we use the most often, is just that. Over the top and under. This will get jammed into a block or a pulley, and it doesn't create a wide enough knot, and it can actually get scrunched down to be less than the diameter of the line itself. So this is not a good line to use if you want to stop the line from disappearing. So the figure 8 stopper knot prevents that. Form a loop with the line, and in the nautical field, this is also called a bight. A bight is nothing more than a fancy name for a loop in the end of a line. Form a loop, twist it once, twist it twice, and bring the bitter end to the top of the loop. See how that looks like a number 8? That's the figure 8 stopper knot. It prevents the line from disappearing through a block. And if you wanted to, when it does come up to the block or the pulley, if you leave a little bit of a tail on it, it allows you to grab it. Okay. And that's another way you could do it as well. Over the top, underneath, and then back through the loop.
Instead of twisting it?
Instead of twisting it. Yep. Another way of doing it. So over the top, underneath, and then through.
All right, so what kind of knot would you use to, say you have to tie something to the roof of your car? We passed Christmas season, but people had to tie a tree to the roof of their car or a sled or something like that. What kind of knot would you use for that?
Good question, good question. You could use a square knot for the reef knot, and this is also useful too if you don't have a long enough line, you've got 2 pieces of line, you want to connect them together. You'd use a square knot to attach 2 lines of the same size. So if you have 2 lines and you're tying the Christmas tree off to itself,
okay,
use the square knot.
So if your rope's not long enough, you just combine 2 together.
Correct. Yep. Yep. All right, so this is how you would tie a square knot or a reef knot. It's a square knot if you're in the woods with the Boy Scouts, and it's a reef knot if you're on a boat. Same knot, 2 different names. Green and orange. The green goes over the top of the orange and then underneath the orange. Pull it tight. Green goes over the top of the orange again, so it's the same maneuver. And then green goes underneath the orange and you pull it tight. and that's a square knot or a reef knot. The way you can tell you've done it correctly is it lies flat. Now, if you wanted to lock that off to make sure it doesn't move, you can put a half hitch in. Orange underneath itself, and then through the loop that you create. And cinch it up tight. Same thing with the green. Green goes underneath, through the loop you create, and cinch it up tight. That helps to lock off the knot, so it's not going to move or come loose. And that's a square knot with 2 half hitches. Okay, so that's the square knot or the reef knot. There's also, and again, we can use this knot to tie our shoes every morning. What we more commonly use to tie the shoes is what's called a granny knot. And it's kind of it's a square knot gone wrong. So you start out the same way, the green goes over the orange and then underneath. But then orange comes over the green and goes underneath. And see how that differs? It doesn't lie flat and everything in line. It's opposite each other. So if you find your shoelaces are like tied like that, and the loops in the laces are going from toe to heel instead of side to side, that's a granny knot.
Yeah.
This has a tendency to come undone. It's not a very strong knot. The square knot or the reef knot is a much stronger knot and will keep things attached. And if you wanted to tie your shoes using a square knot or a reef knot, that knot will hold a lot better than the regular granny knot you use to tie your shoes with. It's the same thing. Green goes over orange and then underneath, but instead of leaving them straight like this, create 2 loops, one on each side, and then the same thing. Green goes over the orange and then underneath, and pull it through. That looks like how you tie your shoes, and it's easy to get it undone too. Okay, so there you have it, a couple of useful everyday knots. Use them to tie your shoes, tie the tarp over a load of leaves when you're taking it to the dump, whatever. It's important to know the correct knot for the correct use, makes you look smarter, and you don't waste time undoing unnecessary knots.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
My pleasure.
Tune in next week. We'll have another awesome new thing to learn. Be sure to like the video, share it, comment with what you want to learn next. We'll do our best to get those up here. And like us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all the good channels. Thanks.